So turn down the lights, lock the door. It's time for DJs After Dark.
Hey everybody, Danny J here. It's DJs After Dark right here on the DJB Productions Network. Go down and hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell. Leave us some comments. We have a great show today. We're talking about, as you can see the symbol right behind me, MTV. You say, what is that? Well, we're going to talk about that today because it was an iconic television station that groomed multiple generations for multiple years. Now it's kind of faded into the dark. It's still up there, but nobody really watches it anymore, I don't think. But we're going to talk about that today. Going along with me today, we got DJ Matt Sunner.
Good morning.
Got Matt Sunner right there. And of course, I got Dr. Rock Ray Thomas.
Good morning. I want my money for nothing and my chicks for free.
Right, you do. What a great thing. MTV was a great thing. And MTV came out at the perfect time because we were, at the time in the 80s, we were very heavily into music. I think the whole generation. TV was in its infant stage. Cable was in its infant stage. And it was one of the things where we still relied on music for our entertainment. You know,
Yes.
TV been out for decades before that, but there really wasn't much on. So we were prominently listening to music, listening to albums still at that time.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where now we could put a face to a sound, which was very, very intriguing to a lot of people.
I think another cool thing was you got to see your superstars that you never saw, like Pink Floyd. And like you actually saw them, or Pat Benatar in that skin-tight leather outfit.
Yeah.
Saying you got to see these superstars, and it was kind of cool because you only heard about them in the 70s growing up.
That's right. And then we had, you know, what came along with MTV. One, you got the music videos. You're visibly able to see what you used to have to go to a concert to see.
Correct.
Before. Now you get to see these guys not only in concert-esque videos, but theatrical thing. This became a thing to produce, to direct theatrical vignettes, you know, to these songs that were real popular.
It was like a 4 or 5 minute movie. It was like a 4 or 5 minute movie.
Yeah.
Well, just look at Thriller. I mean, look at Thriller.
Well, I want to get into that. Don't bring up Thriller yet, because Thriller is one of the key things.
For vignette. Hold on for a minute, because I got to go look that word up. Vignette.
That was because Thriller, and we'll get into it. Thriller was an evolution of what MTV was providing, and it's the truth, and we're going to get into that as well. But like the music, and we were talking about this off the air, saying the very first video on MTV was "Video Killed the Radio Star," and that was his intent, in a sense. It was like, hey, you know, music has evolved. You don't have to just listen to it anymore. Now we're going to show you what these stars are.
But now the thing is, though, too, you have to also think about, though, it's interesting because, you know, Video Killed the Radio Star. It was a very apropos video because, like I said, they were looking to usher in the age of the music video, and you know, you're not going to listen to radio anymore. But if you actually listen to the song, it was actually about how TV did away with the old, you know, before television, you listened to all your shows on radio.
Right.
Yes, true. It's true.
And so TV came along, and all those radio stars disappeared because some of them truly did have a face for radio. You know, they were, you couldn't put them on television and be like, oh, or, you know, you think about stuff like from the big one that I always liked from the 40s and 30s and 40s, Baby Snooks was played by Fanny Briggs. She was a 40-some-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you can't put Baby Snooks on TV because Baby Snooks is not a 7-8-year-old kid.
And you know what, though? Radio shows, radio operas, or radio shows like that, today would never work. It never worked.
Nobody has the imagination.
I remember, like it was beyond Matt. You and my generation. It was beyond us too. But I remember as a kid.
Oh, bring it
I
up.
think it might have been OGL. I forget. Well, OGL wasn't OGL. I don't think
it was WCAU FM.
Yeah, it was WCAU. But I remember as a nostalgic scenario, they did a murder mystery radio show.
Dude.
Do you remember that back in the 80s? It wasn't like
geez, I'm not remembering that one.
It wasn't a series.
Yeah, I can't.
It was one time. It was a one-time special event type of thing, and they did a radio murder type of thing. And they
remember this,
right? And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. Like I sat there like this, and I listened, and it was creepy, and it was very Dick Tracy like. And I remember like, and they were screaming and murder and dun 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 and like all this background, and they did it as a nostalgic like ode to those old radio programs.
And I think their ratings were up. I think people tuned in. I believe.
Because you had to rely on your imagination. It's kind of like one of the things that you and I talked about at one point on Capes Not Included, is that the people just don't, it made you use your imagination. It's almost kind of like when you read a book and then see a movie, the book tends to be 10 times better because there's no way any director, producer, can really get what you envisioned in your mind. Whatever you can envision in your mind is usually worse than what anybody can put on television.
That's true. I remember when I used to give out magnifying glasses because I wanted people to believe that. Forget it, but you get the idea.
It was how you dated Joanne, right? I understand.
It's an illusion. It's big enough.
Here, put on these binoculars.
I'm surprised you had kids.
Use your imagination, and it made it
that. Let's think about what MTV did. A lot of people are like, all right, well, yeah, it was music television. You watched videos. It didn't stop there. And the influence did not stop there because I'm going to go over some stuff and that we didn't think about back then, but you're going to think about now when I say you're like, holy shit. MTV was crucial to not only just these bands and their music and promoting new music, etc. Because now you got to see these people who are like, let's face it, like you I love this music, I love this thing and stuff like that. But now guys are seeing Pat Benatar and they're like, wow, she's hot. Guys are seeing Rita Ford and you're like, wow, look how hot she is. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And women are seeing like when in the hair metal thing. How about it, guys? Got Motley Crue. Motley Crue in their day. I mean, granted, they look like fat old men now, but back in the day, those guys were cut. They looked great. Poison was another one. Vixen. How hot was Vixen?
Oh my God! Right? Oh my God!
But here's a scenario.
Thank.
Who benefited from MTV were movies, because soundtracks nowadays, soundtracks are like whatever. There is no soundtrack really anymore. But there are, but nobody gets into it. But back in the day, when major stars were doing songs for movies, their video, which tied in scenes from the movie, got you to watch the movie.
Kenny Loggins did that.
Kenny Loggins changed.
He made a career out of it.
You got a 4-minute trailer. You got a 4-minute trailer instead of the 30-second trailer that was on TV.
That's right. And some of the ones I remember back in the day, obviously Footloose. You talk about Kenny Loggins, right? But how about Cyndi Lauper?
Yep.
Bebop.
Have fun.
Girls Just Want to Have Fun was her song. But let's talk about, she did the song for Goonies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right, and you got to see scenes from Goonies and stuff like that. Bebop was in a movie. I forget what it was in, but that was another one. You got to see a lot of Power of Love from Peter Cetera.
Yeah.
That drove Karate Kid 2 out the fucking wazoo because of you got to hear this great song. You got to see Daniel LaRusso, who I fucking hated, fall in love with this woman in Okinawa, and he fights for her honor. And what an epic thing it was.
That movie.
You know what I mean? And let's think about it too for a second. You haven't doing songs like that and creating videos. If you were a video guy, half your videos shot because you're using movie footage.
That's right. Yeah. Danger Zone from Top Gun. I could not think of that song.
Which one?
Danger Zone from Top Gun.
Danger Zone from Top Gun. You're right. And that movie was outrageous. Top Gun was a great movie.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? But now soundtracks are doing so good. You have video is becoming this big thing, and now they want to do awards, and they do VMA awards. And somebody asked me and said, why they do VMA awards if you never show videos?
I know.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I know.
We're gonna give out awards for all these great videos that we never showed you,
Right.
because we're busy showing you a bunch of fucking warrants. I posted it recently. It's I think it's you and I are both on this like the 80s of the great 80s like Facebook page or something.
Yeah, I put you in there.
MTV, and it's like, remember when when this was actually played music, and it's like, yeah, well, it used to be music television, now it's moron television. Because you want to look at it.
It really is.
Pregnant at 14.
My daughter put on MTV. She was watching Catfish or something like that.
Catfish.
And I'm like, this is really moronic television. So not to steal your words, but it really is. And her 14 years old. That's all they watch. Stupid shit. You know what I mean? But like, but I was like, I didn't even used to put music on this channel. I said, I just walked through the room. I'm like, there used to be music on this channel. Just and
the thing is, and unfortunately, what really signed MTV's death warrant for more than anything else was one of the shows that they actually did that was absolutely incredible when it first started.
What, Road Rules? Real World. Well, Real World, yeah.
Real World, the first
Real World, those first two seasons
were incredible.
Fantastic.
Well, you know why? Because it catered to the audience at that time. You had good-looking people of the same age, and now people look. It's the same thing that American bands did the Ray's generation.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I'll say. Here's why the first two seasons of Real World worked.
Julie.
Well, no, it was you literally had these people. There was no preconceived notion about your cast. These were people who came from very different backgrounds, different locations, and you put them somewhere. And really, again, what happens when people start getting real? It was first season was great. Second season was great. By third season, you could tell the producers were looking at the audition tapes and going, okay, we need a gay guy. Oh, that's our gay guy.
Yeah.
Like it was they were casting a show. It was all about
understand reality television. Reality TV at that point was Cops.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was it. The reality TV wasn't anything, at least to what we know it.
Right.
Until Cops was around. That was the only real reality TV. And then Real World came in, and now we're peering into these lives of these young kids who are all fucking have nothing to do but go to the gym and get ripped and look good and blah, blah, blah. And these are women you're never going to get. And these are guys you're never going to get because you have muffin top and blah, blah, blah. And you live vicariously through these adventures and these real adventures of these guys on vacation, these fucking jerk-offs. And that's why the show went over so well.
The thing is, though, it became a show. It wasn't about being real anymore. It was about like, okay, what can we do that make it the most dramatic? Because you think about those first couple seasons, there were certain episodes you watch it and go like, this was kind of boring because nothing really excitement. There was no friction. It was just a bunch of people just kind of hanging out and having fun. But again, it was real. It was real.
But you got it, and you know what? You got over this one's hot, that one's hot. Yeah. And now what are you going to do for me? And that's why something like that had to evolve, and it evolved in a more generic fashion, unfortunately.
Yeah. There was nothing hotter than MTV Spring Break from.
Yeah.
They got in so much trouble for those.
That's the only time I didn't give a shit about videos being on was Spring Break. It honestly is the truth.
It had the micro bikini that looked like a flag. You can't get it out of your head.
I mean, look how Spring Break, what MTV Spring Break did. American Dad, which is now last 10 years, they did an episode where Roger the Alien hosted MTV Spring Break. So
Mount Havasu or something.
Right, and you're talking American Dad is in a time frame where MTV hasn't shown music videos in forever.
No.
And it was not relevant anymore. MTV really, I mean, I guess you could say it's relevant, but in a way it's not. No. It's a mundane channel. It's not really relevant. It's a mundane channel like anything else, and it just plays whatever.
It's a preacher now. They preach every day, and like they tell these kids
we had what was the #1 show we used to watch on MTV? the top 20 countdown.
Oh my God!
Right?
Yeah.
And the top 20 countdown got to show you the top 40 songs. Because it would be hair metal, it would be rap,
Right.
it could be what's his face from the Righteous Brothers that did what's his name?
Bill, what's his name?
Time of My Life.
Yeah,
You know, Bill Haley or not Bill Haley.
it was Bill Miller.
Bill Medley.
yeah.
Bill Medley.
Oh, yeah.
And so you had all these different songs that were also featured on Dancing on Air / Dance Party USA. Music was still a driven force at that time.
Yeah.
And we also were exposed to everything. Now, granted, you didn't see country on there, but you saw rock, you saw top 40 pop, you saw rap.
As you saw Rocket by Herbie Hancock. I mean,
Yeah, and you could see Rocket by Herbie Hancock.
You learned to like jazz. You learned like what was prevalent in that top.
It's kind of like what we talked about before. It kind of mimicked, radio of the day, where you had such a variety. You could have, Duran Duran, followed by Michael Jackson, followed by Stevie Wonder, followed by Motley Crue, followed by Herbie Hancock. And it was like you were getting bombarded with these multiple genres.
It was the Eagle 106. Not to get local, but it was the Eagle 106 of television.
I just John Lander the other day.
You know what I mean? So like, it's one of those things where MTV was so crucial. Now I'm going to bring up what you brought up earlier. Now you're going to get into stars are now realizing, hey, it's not just about a video anymore. This is now something that can propel my project, can propel me in a scenario. And Michael Jackson, who arguably one of the greatest pop stars of all time, comes up with Thriller. Yes. And look to what MTV drove him to do. He gets, what's his face? John Carpenter, right?
John Landis.
John Landis. No, but the special effects guy was Rick Baker.
Rick Baker.
Right.
John Landis and Rick Baker, the same guys who did American Werewolf in London.
Right.
Oh yes.
And he did they got to do all the effects. And then it's written in the sense of Michael Landon's I Was a Teenage Werewolf.
Correct.
Right. He comes out like a cat.
And Ola Ray was hot. Remember her? The girl from the
girl from the video? Yeah.
She
was really hot. And it was obviously a great. It was so monstrous that they had the making of.
Yes, they did.
Before they fucking showed the video.
I remember that.
You remember that? The making of it. You got all this promo for Thriller. You got all this promo.
Was terrified of Thriller.
It's going to be debuted on Tuesday night at 8:00 on MTV. So you're a music video. You're promoting one music video, but they showed the making of it before they even fucking showed the video. And that was crazy. And then now you're getting behind the scenes of like, whoa, this is like really, and it made you want to watch the video because it wasn't a spoiler because of the fact that you're like, holy shit, look at all they're putting into this fucking music video.
Once it's got in the rotation, people watched it again for what they missed the first time and what they missed the second time.
And and eventually it got edited down so it's the actual length of the song. But you figure the full length version of it is something like 20 some minutes long.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Because it's that whole opening sequence, and then you realize, oh, okay, well, it's Michael and his girlfriend at the movie theater, and they're walking home, and it's just all this, it's like this movie, and then all of a sudden,
and
the music happens in the middle of it.
And not for anything, that's a predecessor. Not for anything for Michael Jackson, that was a predecessor to Moonwalker,
and
to create these other
Smooth Criminal.
Right, and and Smooth Criminal worked out the same way, where there was extended scenes, there was acting involved, and it was
Black and White. Remember Black and White is another
one. It was a theatrical scenario. It was beyond the video, and that propelled not only Michael Jackson, but that propelled MTV, because MTV now is the only place you're seeing this shit. Right?
Here's where MTV got in trouble, though. Remember McDonough? No one knew what the video Like a Prayer was going to be, but MTV paid a buckload of money And nobody knew that it was going to come out and be the thing with the relationship with the priest and stuff like that. MTV took
and unfortunately, because even back then, which we were kind of free, but we weren't really free. She's having a relationship, interracial relationship in the show, which wasn't greatly appreciated, and that's it's sad, but that's what happened at the time. That coupled, she's with a black guy, and she's talking about Jesus and how Jesus going to have her with a black guy, and it created. But controversy is promotion.
So what did people do?
No such thing as bad press. No such thing as bad press.
No such thing as bad press. And Madonna made view because you know what? If you fast forward to Madonna's thing, video wise, what got banned? Erotica.
Yep.
That erotica. What a video that was. What I did too.
I got the book.
And so did Kleenex. But like that got banned from
Kleenex.
And they showed erotica like after dark. You know, they didn't even show erotica during the day.
It was safe harbor. It was like after like 11 o'clock or something like that.
And it was still banned, even though it was too racy. And I was like, I wasn't into Madonna, but man, I was into watching Madonna. I really was.
Too.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't preaching. I was.
Now here's the thing.
What was the one that Michael Jackson got his hair caught on fire? That was another MTV.
That was a Pepsi commercial.
That was a Pepsi commercial.
Pepsi
commercial, yeah.
Yeah.
The afro sheen in his hair got lit by
burned up in the lights or something.
And that's when the aliens came down and they grabbed him and they replaced him with a white duplicate.
That's it. Macaulay Culkin.
Watch Adult Swim's the show with the puppets. Oh, what the hell is it called? I watch it all the time.
Crank Yankers?
No, not Crank Yankers.
Man.
On Cartoon Network they have it's Robot Chicken.
Okay.
How did you forget the name of Robot Chicken?
I know. If you have Ray, I know you, Matt. You look it up too, but Ray, look up Robot Chicken, Michael Jackson versus Michael Jackson. And literally what it is that Michael Jackson, white Michael Jackson, is going into court because of all the child molestation hearings, stuff like that. And a spaceship comes down and out comes the black Michael Jackson, right? and they fight doing like all Michael Jackson stuff, right? And the aliens go like, how were you supposed to take over the earth with a white Michael Jackson? The guy's like, it looked good on paper. You know, it was like the funniest thing in the world. But I still go by it. It's so funny. You got to watch that. It was really good. But another big thing, we talked about movies benefiting from music videos. We talked about obviously the stars benefiting from music videos. We talk about how people like Michael Jackson could expand on their creativity and make these little movie vignettes based on their music and stuff like that, almost like rock operas in a sense, small rock operas. But another first was Metallica. Metallica's first video was One. And the song One, which is an epic song, that was their first video. And you can say, oh, they sold out. No, they didn't. They made money, fucker. Don't they? Nothing wrong with making money.
Hey, okay. as Jason Newsted said in their Behind the Music, he's like, oh, people said we sold out. That's right. We sold out every arena in every town in every country we went to. You're damn right. We sold out.
Sold out. That's right.
Sales on the Black Album for Metallica. And
if anything too, and this is, I'll tell you right now, this MTV also, as we talked about, getting bombarded with different genres. As I have behind me, Headbangers Ball, Yo MTV Raps, it gave you an opportunity. It gave you exposure to artists that maybe you had a preconceived notion about and went like, oh, wait a minute, I was totally off base. And, not necessarily sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. But, I remember, that One was my first real exposure to Metallica. I had other friends that listened to it, but I was kind of, I liked, hard rock, but I didn't think I was like a metal guy, So I was into like Motley Crue and Def Leppard, but I always thought like Metallica, I'm thinking like, oh my God, it's going to be just like so far up here, killing your mom,
And you know what, though? And here's the funny thing.
And then One came out and it's like going, oh my God, these guys can actually play. And oh my God, this is you know, and it's like, okay, I'm talking all my
And then here's some epic, videos. Talking about that, here's some epic. Tool Sober. When that video came out, that video was all stop animation.
Yeah.
And you're like, what, the song with what you're visually seeing was like, you're like, and the funny thing about MTV, you're like, it's music, right? It wasn't something you put on like you do Music Choice and just it's music playing, it's in the background. You're watching it. I can't, when I think back, I'm like, holy shit, how many hours of music television did I watch? Instead of watching a cartoon or a movie or a TV show, I was watching MTV and I'm waiting for my
vacation. You're sitting there in front of the TV waiting for that video.
Right. And I waited for my video to come on. Yeah. And when it did, I fucking jumped up and I was air guitar and I was singing my song and blah, blah, blah. And then another song. And like you said, you grew appreciation for some of the other stuff that was wrapped around it.
Okay. Right. And like you said, and you might not have found yourself falling in love with a new genre, but you may have found that, like, you know what?
I like that artist.
90% of that genre doesn't appeal to me, but that one particular artist or that one particular song. And now you were getting piecemeal stuff going like, okay, you know, I like that one. I like that one. I like that one. I like that one. And you started going out, and that's where it was driving then, you know, again, not even album sales, but people are going out and buying then the singles. For those that you remember, you could go out and buy the 45, or you could buy the cassette, and the cassette had that song and maybe two others on it. And it was the thing.
How many times? I mean,
but you went home and you made a dub of that, and you made your own mixtape from that when you went home.
And honestly, I think MTV was very influential when it came to releasing singles, because how many times did you buy an album and only 2 songs out of 12 did you like? You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
So I can feel for that. I know.
Right. Yeah. And you're talking about, once again, our generation. We could listen to Daryl Hall.
I love
with a release. We could listen to LL Cool J.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then and these are artists that became household names.
If you remember, Tone Loc made you actually like rap, because you would hear Wild Thing and you would hear like
and Tone Loc, whether in the rap community you want to consider him really good or a joke or whatever, much like a Hulk Hogan did for wrestling, it was a household name.
Yes,
I didn't listen to rap, but I know who Tone Loc is. I know who Young MC is.
Right. You remember Sir Mix-a-Lot?
And I sure as hell know who I know who Fresh Prince is.
Right.
And where did he go?
Understand.
Where did Will Smith go? You know, from something like that. Now, the generation that grew up watching all that stuff, obviously they get older, and MTV's changed with the times. Unfortunately, I think for the worse. They think they really started catering towards the rap hip hop generation. Like that was coming in. Younger people were only listening to that. They weren't really opening up. And I thought, me personally, I'm like, I always fall that it's MTV or a radio station. It is your responsibility to open minds up to everything, right? And unfortunately, for the mighty dollar, they closed it. They narrow their tunnel vision and say, we're only going to focus on this generation. They only like rap, so we're going to that's all we're going to give them. So,
and unfortunately, not to cut you off, but as you know, I have in the back here, Headbangers Ball, Yo MTV Raps. The one I couldn't find was like the 120 minutes, which was all like the Cure and the Smiths and you know all that kind of REM a little bit in there. You know, it was kind of like the beginning of the alternative sound, and it was great because they had then these blocks, like an hour or so on a specific day, where that's all you got. And that, I think, was so much better because it's like during the day, you know, during normal days, it's going to be a mishmash of stuff. But then if you're really into this, then you know to tune in on this day at this time, and we're going to give you an hour, hour and a half, whatever it was, of just that. But every other part of the day, every other day is we're going to give you a mix. And I don't know why they never got away.
Now, what I was getting into, though, is that because of the initial audience evolved or got older or whatever the case would be, what happens is we span out to now VH1, Video Hits 1. it really wasn't a competitor station. It was like, let's move. It's almost like what Cartoon Network did with Boomerang. Let's move our initial audience over here to give them what they want, so that we can concentrate still on this new audience that we're trying to get, or we're trying to capitulate on, that type of thing. And, VH1, you start to getting like all the older stuff, like Asia. Asia.
Richie. I mean, you started to get all the older stuff.
Yeah. It was almost like, because we started liking stuff that was like the B101 of music, that stuff went over there, and now we don't have to put up with MTV Raps, because I listened to Lionel Richie, or whatever the case was, and we had an alternative, which was, it kept us in the loop, which I thought was a good thing. Now, granted, these stations go MTV 1, MTV 2, MTV 3, MTV in Spanish, and like, whatever the case would be, and it evolved so much that but I think it drove movies.
Yes.
It drove music, not only articulation, but I think it drove music awareness to the general public. We were able to get songs. Think about like this. When you get those compilation songs, like when we were at war, and we had those songs like, I forget what the name was. We Are the World. I could say that because that's a very general one that everybody knows. And all those artists, we all knew every artist that was on there. But there was a song called, I forget what it was called, but it was for when we were in Desert Storm. And all the rock and everybody got together, and they did this song it was when we did the Yellow Ribbons. Yeah. For Desert Storm. And you had Nelson, Will Smith, Peter Cetera, and Gloria Estefan, Dionne Warwick, and you had all these younger and older artists mixing together, and the reason you were able to really do that was because everybody knew who everybody was. Yeah. Why? Because of MTV. Honestly, MTV. I believe that. Yeah. MTV. And I think it was one of those things where, and then what spawned out of MTV as competition? Friday night videos on NBC. Yeah. Okay, remember like midnight on Friday nights, we used to watch the top 10 videos. They kind of cut down the top 20 from MTV's top 20 countdown. We knew all the different VJs like Kurt Loder, Mark Goodman, Nina Blackwood. We knew all those people, and we got to we got to see DJs in a sense, and that was kind of a neat thing to say, oh, that's kind of cool. And those people did radio too. Don't get me wrong, they did. You know what I mean? But like now you got to see what a DJ was like, whatever. And that was a really cool thing. Guys, we're going to close the show soon, but think about what was some of the videos that stood out to you. Ray, let's start with you.
Who? Me?
Yeah.
Or Matt?
Let's start with you. Ray. Let's start with you.
All right. What was it? Take on Me by Aha? Because when you still see that video, that production in that video is insane. It still is. Think about it. The picture book comes to life. That had never been done before.
Right.
In the way, and I understand it was done with a bunch of pencil stencils and put back together again. That had never been done, and that's one that still stands out to me. And then on the horny side that Dr. Rock lives by, Hot for Teacher by Van Halen was always right. For me. So
we definitely got our softcore porn in music videos. We did. Now
thing with Jessica Hahn.
And with Whitesnake.
No, not
Jessica Hahn. Oh, you're talking about with
Sam Kinison.
Wild Thing. Yeah.
That was one of mine, because again, you got to see all those guys that first off performed on the song, and were also though just friends of Sam Kinison.
Yeah.
Because it was So you got Joe Perry and Steven Tyler in there, Slash. John Waite, Jonathan Cain, Neil Sean. There was a whole bunch of people that you're watching that video, and of course you got Jess Kahan with her new boobs dancing around
brand new
boobies,
brand new shiny boobies.
Like 700 times they were brand new.
I mean, for me, I think I look back at some of the more classic ones, like for example, Who Can It Be Now?
Oh, by
Men at Work. Duran Duran, Rio.
Rio,
right? Because a lot of those videos did tell a short little story. Like if you do, Rio did Hungry Like the Wolves was a good one. But how about Shock the Monkey?
Yeah.
Peter Gabriel.
Talk about it's like that was a little acid trip.
Yeah,
his videos were basically little acid trips between Shock the Monkey and then the ones he did for Sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer was a great one.
What was the other one that he did all the claymation? Yeah, Big Time. The claymation.
And Mr. Roboto was another one.
And there's the song that ruined Styx's career. They told him not to put the album out. They did it.
Well, he wanted to do a rock opera.
Yeah.
Based on that. But I love that song. I love that song. And let me tell you something. It was one of those things where the video was just so cool because I was into Ultraman and Godzilla and stuff like that. And you're getting this sci-fi video, and out of that. And one more I just want to say before I go to Matt and get it was from Golden Earring, Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Twilight Zone was a great video. It was a great video.
Played it every week. I love that song, and audiences would go crazy to that song.
Mm-hmm. Matt, what about you?
Oh, geez. One of my standouts, and I'm having a brain fart on exactly what song it was. Motley Crue, whichever one where they had Nikki Sixx.
Girls.
No. Nikki Sixx with his they lit his pants on fire. Oh God.
Wasn't Jump Stop My Heart, was it?
No, it was from one of the songs from Shout at the Devil.
But it wasn't Shout at the Devil.
No, it was I want to say it was it may have been Live Wire. I think it was Live Wire.
I know that.
Yeah, it was like that, and and I remember years later they were talking about how they did it, where he's wearing leather pants, so they just basically smeared his pants with like Vaseline and then lit it on fire. So he's there playing, and his legs are just on fire, and you're sitting there going, "That is so fucking cool."
I totally want to do that.
It's like how do I do that without setting myself or the house on fire?
No disclaimers.
Do not try.
No disclaimers.
It's like a thing of like. And again, not to get off topic, but almost kind of speaks to our generation. It's like we kind of knew. Yeah, don't fucking do it. Nobody had to tell us not to do it.
Have fun, kids.
Have fun, kids. Remember Jackass? All the shit they told you not to do, everybody did.
Yeah,
we did.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But I'd have to say that, and I'm just trying to think some of the ones that we haven't already talked about. Geez, I guess Dire Straits, Money for Nothing.
That's a great one.
Because
at the time, you look at it now, you're like, oh my God, how? Yeah, you look at it now, you're like, oh, this is such crap. The
infancy of computer animation, and then even what they did with when they cut to the performance, them performing section with it kind of being like black and white and then having like the streaks of color like highlighting,
and you know what? And think about this for a second.
Did like an oil like pastel kind of a
in that song. In that song, what's the one line does? I want my MTV.
Yep. Sting comes in and sings that part. And guess what? Here's another thing. Do you remember what happened with Sting after that song came out?
What? I don't know.
He became solo artist.
He actually got a cut of the royalties
of the song
for that song because he sang the I Want My MTV to the same tune of Don't Stand So Close to Me. So therefore he was able to get he was basically able to get almost like if you sampled somebody, he was able to get a small percentage of the royalties. So he didn't just come in and go like, okay, I'm going to do this, okay, cool, as a friend or whatever. He actually then got paid.
All right, there's another trivia question with that.
Time residuals for that.
What other band was in that video with Money for I won't, Money for Nothing? Remember, you got to see.
There were a couple of them.
There was the Dwight Philly band.
Right.
Remember when she's walking and you see all of a sudden it flashes back to the girl in her panties?
Yeah.
And she's walking. That was the Dwight Philly band.
And you know what?
There was the dude when they talked about totally non-PC language now, but the faggot with his earring in the in his ear or whatever. And I forget what band that was. I think that was like Mr. or something. I think I could be wrong. I have to go back.
But you know what? When you think about it, it's coming to mind. We're talking about all these videos and stuff like that. But some of even the more subdued ones that were like influential. Not I don't want to say influential, but something that I really remember. The Tubes, She's a Beauty.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
When you see the girl that's like the mermaid or whatever behind the glass, she's behind the glass, and you're like, And as a small kid, I'm like, I'm discovering women early. You know what I mean?
Paula Abdul, Cold-Hearted Snake.
Straight up.
Cold-Hearted Snake. That video was just because everybody's just like grinding up on each other and like
straight up. You mentioned Straight Up. Straight Up came out right around the same time that One came out. So I remember that because like I actually remember when we were talking about like I saw Straight Up. I'm watching the video and I was like, oh man, Paula Abdul. And then One came on right after it. So you're talking two polar opposite artists. Right,
she was actually more talented than she got credit for.
She really was. But then Cold-Hearted Snake. Because she did that with that song with the cartoon cat.
2 Steps Forward.
2 Steps Forward, which was a catchy song. We were like, all right, this ain't really doing anything for your sex appeal. But then Cold-Hearted Snake comes out, and you're like, oh my God, Paula. You know what I mean? You started talking like Ted Knight in a
Too Close for Comfort.
Yeah,
Caddyshack. Oh, baby.
And Caddyshack.
Oh, baby.
I was like, oh, Paula. But she was hot, and I dated a girl that looked like Paula Abdul. Right when she came out with Straight Up, like she resembled her.
Was this before your head concussion?
Was this before what?
Your head concussion or something that she looked like Paula Abdul?
This girl was a little bit better looking than Paula Abdul, but she had the same hair because that was the time of mall.
The thing.
I want to say a term, mall chicks. I don't know if everybody knows mall chicks. Mall chicks with the hair like this, and this girl had this hair like this, and she looked like Paula Abdul. And I dated this girl, and I was like, oh, Paula. I was like all into Paula Abdul. I was like, wow.
I knew a stripper at Show and Tell looked like Mariah Carey.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you're attainable.
Exactly.
Probably flipped out for the sound system, just like Mariah.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, in conclusion, I mean, the MTV was so influential, and it was something that if it stayed the course where we got to hear music, because now what we have CMT to play the country music. You have MTV, which honestly, it does. If you get around all the reality television, all it does is play rap and hip hop. That's all it is. It's all. It's everything around it is rap and hip hop. Even if you go to the Spanish station, it's all the Spanish popular pop music is all dance anyway. So you don't get like the rock videos anymore or something like that. I honestly don't think you get. I mean, this is a given. You don't get the creativity.
No.
In a video that you did before. You're not going to compare Sledgehammer to any rap video that's out there now, where a guy's just dancing around, holding guns, and girls with thongs doing twerking. I mean, that's not creative. That's not creative.
A Butterfinger.
It's ultimately it's like been there, done that. Have 5 of the T-shirts, kind of a thing.
And speaking of hot, Janet Jackson.
Back in the Army days for her.
Well, not when she first came out, when she was doing like Rhythm Nation stuff like that, which was the dancing was amazing.
Yeah.
But when she lost all that weight, and she was with a personal trainer like a son of a bitch.
Oh,
and she did that. That's the Way Love Goes.
I love that video.
How
Yeah.
sexy is Janet Jackson? Like that woman would like make you question doing like illegal things.
And here's what I'll say about Janet Jackson though, because she was already pretty good looking even back when like Control came out. Then she just got like, she trimmed down, she got fit, and it was like you're almost kind of like mad because it was like going, Janet Jackson used to be that chick that maybe I had a chance with. Yep, nope, missed the boat.
Missed the boat. Now you got to take her.
She got
funny about that?
Looking at me no more.
It's funny you say that. I'll tell you a quick story so we can end the show. I'll tell you a quick story so we can end the show. I went out with my buddies. We were going out to a club. We were going out to Pulsations, to be honest with you.
Nice.
And we stopped at the Wawa that was down there. Now, for those of you who don't know, Wawa was
I was right next to it.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? So we go in there, and I meet this girl in the deli who was a really cute girl, and was like, "Hey, you, come here!" Like, I guess like because people are going in and out of the store, you don't have a lot of time to like flirt, or whatever. So if you want to get somebody's number, you got to get it then and there.
I got the meats.
So I hook up with this girl, I get her number, or whatever, and I start going out with her a little bit, a couple dates here and there. I go to a party, and the girl breaks up with me at her party, which is like, you fucking bitch, right? And I only went out on like 3 dates with her, so it's not like it was some big thing. So I meet this other girl at this party, and this other girl could be equal to Janet Jackson when she was attainable, right? That's what I'm gonna say. This girl was like Janet Jackson attainable, right? I date her a little bit. We have a little bit of fun. Go out with her a couple months, whatever. It fades off into nothing. Right?
What you got for me
years later, I'm working in the mall, and I see this girl who's like really like hot, and it's that girl. But now she's like, that's the way love goes, Janet Jackson.
Forever your girl.
She totally trimmed down, was like 6-pack. She was chubby before. 6-pack, hot. I said, holy shit. Like, I was like, do I still have it? I'm looking to see if I still have her phone number. I was like, oh my God, but that reminded me of that. That was pretty funny. But as far as an MTV generation's concerned, if you have a chance, and you probably can go on YouTube and watch some of these shows and stuff like that, you check it out. I mean, some of them were really cool. I mean, obviously, if you look back at on YouTube, and obviously on YouTube, if you say, I want to look at Sledgehammer, or I want to look at Rhythm Nation or whatever, you pick up the Thriller, you can see these videos. I mean, now you have to search for it. It's not going to be given to you like MTV gave it to you on a silver platter. But check out some of these music videos and understand that we just sat there all day and watched this. Not just listened to it, but watched it.
And in the closing note, like I had up at least until a couple of years ago, it's probably still sitting in my entertainment center, but I had a VHS tape. It was called my MTV Mix. I would just like we used to sit and listen to the radio and try and record our favorite song. I would record my favorite videos. And the best thing about VHS is you had up to 8 hours on one of them tapes.
Yeah.
And I had a full 8 hours of all my favorite videos. And I used to put that on if you were having friends were coming over, you're having a little party, doing whatever. Yeah. Pop that thing in the VCR. Remember them? And and just boom. Because then it's like, hey, these are all the ones that I love. I know my friends love it too. So then it was like, if you're bored, you're kind of hanging out talking, you could watch the video, but as you're milling about the house or whatever, you're hearing all the music too. It was such an all-in-one package that was great.
Bring up a thing, because having the ability to record on VHS, my buddy used to record another great show that came from MTV, which was MTV Unplugged.
Yeah.
And he used to,
as your wife will point out, first one who kicked it off, Bon Jovi from John doing Wanted Dead or Alive at the VMAs. At the VMAs.
Okay.
That's what sparked the idea. That's what sparked the idea, because they came out and they did an acoustic.
Well, one of the first Unplugged was Mariah Carey Unplugged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it also showed the versatility of the musician back then, because LL Cool J, a rap artist, he put together a band to come out, and so where a lot of his stuff was in drum machines and sampled, it was a live band, learned all those
and
songs.
Let me tell you something, back then
Unplugged is still insane.
Artists like LL Cool J and stuff like that, and here's why people know them now 30 years later, and I don't think anybody's going to know a lot of the rappers now, is that they were open to make sure that their audience was expanded.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't think rappers today really think about that. They have their core audience. That's all they're going to go for. If you don't get it, it's unfortunate. It turns into a racial thing and stuff like that in a lot of cases. But like, they don't really care to have a big audience. They only want to do their thing, and it's very narrow-minded. And artists like LL Cool J were like, I'm in this to make money.
Yeah,
correct.
You know what I
not,
mean?
to mention, not to mention that they became talented because they truly were talented. That's why he's been successful as an actor. The man has talent. The man has real talent, and he was able to channel that talent and, you know, be able to go like, I want to branch out and I can do this and I can do that. And it's like people watch his videos and goes like, wow, like, you know, shit, you can actually like act. You look natural doing this.
Still one of my hey lover.
And, you know,
now you mentioned, like, for example, Ray mentioned what's his face that did Funky Cole Medina and all that, Tone Loc. Tone Loc, he only had those couple songs. Because as far as rap was concerned, I guess it wasn't on the novelty pop type rap, but he went on to do a lot of voiceover acting because of his voice. That's really his voice. Yeah. And he does a lot of comedy voiceover acting for cartoons, and he made a career out of it. I mean, so you know, if you're smart,
he did that one character like the movie Bebe's Kids.
Yeah. And done various characters. I mean, in cartoons, I watch cartoons religiously, and I can always pick out Tone Loc in a second whenever I hear him in something.
And of course, he did that Andrew Dice Clay movie, Adventures of Ford Fairlane, which is something we may have to talk about on Have You Seen It Lately at some point.
We might have to do that. And I think he was also with, wasn't he with Jim Carrey in Pet Detective? Wasn't he?
Yeah, Ace Ventura. Yeah,
yep.
He had that role in Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
So
earlier about MTV's original 120 minutes, they came out with a CD years like right after MTV switched over and all.
Yeah.
That CD called 120 minutes is worth a lot of money today because it had all the original songs from MTV with the original versions of them. They weren't cut down or anything like that. If you do get it, find that, you'll make some money out of that one. But yeah, piece of MTV. So
and real quick, look at, not that me and Matt are around the same age, but Ray, you're a little older than us. Not much. But look how the generation, there's a generation difference between Ray and us. And Ray watched MTV.
I did.
You understand what I'm saying? So understand
my son was born. My son was born on MTV, like in MTV, 1982.
My point with this show is that how influential MTV was to not just one age group. It was multiple age groups, because Ray got to see music that he liked. We got to introduce music. I got news for you. MTV used to do a thing where it was like the cut of the week or something like that. And that's how I was introduced to Live, the band Live.
Live from Pennsylvania, upstate Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I was introduced to them because what's that? Not River. Was it Riverside or no?
On the Riverside.
Well, it wasn't that song. It was the other song that was the title, not the title track off of that album, but it was like not Pain Lives on the Riverside, but it was the other one.
Okay.
I can't think of it. I'm trying to think of it. But it was like the cut of the week.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that's pretty good. I like that. Blah, blah, blah. That's pretty good. And then before you know it, I'm buying their CDs.
Yep.
Because they introduced me to that band. So MTV was very influential, even to the same realm as like a Dick Clark would have been in the music industry. Yeah. When you came up and you needed an artist to be shown, like, what did you do? You got to DJs like Dick Clark and say, well, granted, it was payola back then, but like you got to Dick Clark and say, hey, play my record. And if he played your record, it didn't matter if I played your record, but if he played your record, you got somewhere. And that's what MTV was. You had to get something on MTV if you were going to make it. And that's what it is. That's what the business was back then. So, I mean, I miss it. I don't know about you guys. I miss it. I miss MTV.
I do.
I really do.
And we'd mentioned VH1. I really kind of miss that as well in its original, because as you said, it transitioned us. And VH1, we still got a lot of TV shows, but they were music related. You got like the pop up video where it had all like the trivia.
Yes.
The little bubbles that would pop up. And there was
Eon Flux.
Yeah, but that was more. I'm talking the stuff that. But granted, it showcased music in that. Yeah. But there was one show. It was and I can't remember the name of it now. But it was like the
pop-up video. You mentioned pop-up video. That was very cool in a sense because you got to see something. Now you're already behind the scenes. You're seeing what was originally audio, but now you're actually getting behind the scenes. Like they did this. This was bought for $5 at a yard sale or something like that. And it was real facts that were given out.
It wasn't just about the song; it was about the video itself and how they made the video. It's like, oh, this guy back here, that's the producer's, sister-in-law kind of thing. Because they needed somebody and they couldn't find nobody, and they said, "You just stand there for 5 minutes," kind of a thing. But there was a show. It was almost like a rate the band kind of. It was like there was a show. It was like a panel discussion, and it was like different music artists and industry people, and they were talking about like different videos and rating band, like the top 5 such and such bands or such and such video or whatever. I wish I could remember the freaking name of it. I can see it in my mind, the set of it. But it was kind of like the top 5 videos that had to related to this subject or had this person in it and kind of a thing. But I mean, so even when we weren't getting videos, VH1 was giving us music content.
Do you remember MTV's game show called Remote Control?
Remote Control.
Yes.
Yeah.
With Ken Ober and
Kari Wurr.
And Kari Wurr, who's arguably one of the sexiest women.
I know you probably dated her cousin or something, but and you saw her coming out at 11. But
saw her coming out of 7-Eleven. Yeah, I did.
You guys.
That was the great one. Oh, God. There was so much that came out of MTV, guys. Look it up. Check out some of the old vignettes. Check out some of the old VJs. I'm sure they have that on YouTube and stuff like that because they were actually pretty entertaining as well.
Yeah, he made a career out of it as a comedian because of Remote Control. So
seriously. So, guys, I don't know about you, but I want my MTV.
I do too.
I want my MTV back.
I also like sex and closeness, so I'm going to end this thing. So.
So for Dr. Rock Ray Thomas, for Matt,
Jay's lives matter. Be cool.
There we go. My name is Danny J. Until next time, we'll see you after dark.
After dark.
Looks like the sun's coming up. Was that as good for you as it was for me? Join us next time for DJ's After Dark.